Hello, how are you doing? I hope you are doing well. My name is Elijah and welcome as we look at this topic known as variance analysis. Now, you may wish to know that what is the meaning of the term variance. Now, a variance is a deviation. A variance is a deviation from the expected results, if you can say so. From the expected results. Yeah. So that then a variance occurs when there is a difference between the expected results and the actual results. Okay, so it occurs when there is a difference. When there is a difference between the expected, also known as standard, and actual results. Yeah, so that is when a variance occurs. Now, when the difference is positive, we call it favorable, and when it is negative, we call it adverse. So, when it is positive, it is known as favorable. It can be given a short form of F. And when it is negative, it is known as adverse, abbreviated as A, or others may call it unfavorable, abbreviated as U. Good. Now, you may also wish to research more about the various causes of variances, but in these videos, I'll majorly be looking into the calculation part. For your level, you are majorly required to know the variances with regard to costs. That is a diploma level for KIM. But for other courses such as CPA and others, then you may be required to know variances for revenues. So I've assumed that you are studying maybe for a diploma course where you are required to majorly calculate variances for costs. So let's begin with materials. So we can begin with materials. Under materials, we have a variance known as material price variance. Material price variance, abbreviated as MPV. Now, material price variance, as the term suggests, is a variance which occurs due to a difference in price. That is where the actual price is different from the standard, or rather the budgeted price. Okay, so the formula for that is standard price, material price variance, equals to standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. Yeah, standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. So SP is standard price. Now the abbreviations are more memorable, that is why I've decided to use them. AP is actual price, and AQ is actual quantity. Actual quantity. Good. The other variance under material is known as material usage variance. So material usage variance, abbreviated as MUV. Now material usage variance equals to standard quantity for production level achieved minus actual quantity into standard price. Of course, you know everything except SQ. So SQ means standard quantity for production level achieved. For production level achieved. Now, what do you mean for production level achieved? Maybe the question said that maybe one final good needs maybe 2 units of material, maybe of material X, and maybe the actual production level achieved was maybe 10,000 units. So the standard quantity per unit was 2, but for the production level achieved times 10,000 maybe. So that will give us the standard quantity for production level achieved. The next is material cost variance. material cost variance, that can be abbreviated as MCV. Material cost variance is a combination of material price variance and material usage variance. That is the general formula. Or you may also say it is equals to standard material cost for production level achieved, standard material cost for production level achieved, for production level achieved, minus actual material cost, actual material cost, actual material cost. Good. So you are through with the material variances. Next is labor. So you can say labor. Under labor, we have labor rate variance. Now an easy secret of knowing the variances is relating each of them. For example, the way we have material price variance, we also have variance for labor corresponding to material price. So instead of saying material price, we will say labor price. But in reality, we don't pay laborers our price, we pay them our wage rate. So instead of now labor price, we say labor rate, because we pay them a wage rate. So labor rate variance, maybe let me write it in full. Labor rate variance. It is derived from material price variance. So then it will be equals to, instead of standard price we will say standard rate, minus instead of actual price we will say actual rate, into we work in terms of hours, not in terms of quantity, so we'll say into actual hours. So that is the formula. So standard rate, okay, so equals to standard rate minus actual rate into actual hours. So maybe you can say the meaning of those. SR is the standard rate, of course by rate we mean the wage rate. AR is the actual rate, and AH is actual hours, yeah. Good. Next is labor efficiency variance. Labor efficiency variance. This variance is borrowed from material usage variance. Now under material usage variance, we said that the formula is standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard price. Now for laborers, it is wrong to say that you are using a laborer. So we just try to say how the laborer helps us to achieve our objectives. So instead of saying labor usage, we say labor efficiency. And the formula is the same, equals to standard, instead of saying quantity, for labor we work in terms of hours. Standard hours minus actual, instead of quantity, actual hours, into, instead of price, standard rate. Yeah. So that is the formula for labor efficiency variance. Okay. So equals to standard hours minus actual hours into the standard rate. Now you remember here for material, the standard quantity is standard quantity for production level achieved. The same case will be for standard hours, that the standard hours will be standard hours for production level achieved. So standard hours for production level achieved. Good. Next is labor cost variance corresponding to material cost variance. Labor cost variance, which you can abbreviate it as LCV. It is equals to labor rate variance plus labor efficiency variance, or as we also said for materials, equals to standard labor cost for production level achieved, standard labor cost for production level achieved, for production level achieved, okay, minus actual labor cost, actual labor cost. Yeah, so that is all with regard to labor, at least for your level. Next we can move to variable overheads. So we move to variable overheads. Okay, we can underline that. So under variable overheads we have some few variances. Under that we have variable overheads efficiency variance, or we can begin even with expenditure. So variable overheads expenditure variance, expenditure variance. The formula for that is budgeted flexed variable overheads minus actual variable overheads. So maybe I can write the meaning of those abbreviations. Is that BFVO means budgeted flexed variable overheads, and then AVO is actual variable overheads. Now budgeted flexed variable overheads generally means variable overheads for production level achieved. That is what it also means. So budgeted flexed variable overheads also means variable overheads for production level achieved, for production level achieved. Good. Next is variable overheads efficiency variance. Variable overheads efficiency variance, efficiency variance. So the formula for that, all the formulas for efficiency are almost the same. So labor efficiency was standard hours minus actual hours into standard rate. Yeah, as you can notice here. The same thing will be for variable overheads efficiency, even for fixed overhead efficiency. So equals to standard hours minus actual hours into standard rate. But when it comes to overheads, we don't pay them a wage rate. So the rate here means the overhead absorption rate. So in this case then the standard rate is standard overhead absorption rate. Overhead absorption rate. Yeah, good. Next, let's move to fixed overheads. So fixed overheads. Fixed overheads. Under fixed overheads, we have several of them. For example, we have fixed overhead expenditure variance. So fixed overhead expenditure variance. The formula for that is budgeted fixed overheads minus actual fixed overheads. Okay, so BFO means budgeted fixed overheads, and AFO means actual fixed overheads. Good. Next is fixed overhead volume efficiency variance. So fixed overhead volume efficiency variance. The formula for that is, you remember we said that the efficiency variances are the same. So standard hours minus actual hours into standard rate. But in this case, standard rate means the standard. This other one was standard variable overhead. because each overhead has its own absorption rate. So this will also be standard fixed overhead absorption rate. Absorption rate. Good. Another one is known as fixed overhead volume capacity. So fixed overhead volume capacity variance. The formula for that is actual hours minus budgeted hours into the standard rate. Of course, the standard rate being the standard overhead absorption rate. So of course, actual hours, we are okay with that. So maybe what we need to know is budgeted hours. So BH means budgeted hours. Okay. Then there is another one known as fixed overhead volume variance, but I often find it unnecessary. But still, it may be okay if you just know it in case the examiner asks you about it. Fixed overhead volume variance. The formula for that is actual quantity minus budgeted quantity into the standard rate. Of course, the standard overhead absorption rate. So maybe what we need to know is BQ. BQ means budgeted quantity. Good. Finally, I want us to look at mix and yield variances. After having looked at that, then we'll start attempting the various illustrations. Yeah, I hope this space will be enough. Yeah, so we can say mix and yield variances. Mix and yield variances for materials, that is. So the first one is known as material mix variance. Material mix variance, abbreviated as MMV. So what is material mix variance? It arises when the mix of materials used differs from the predetermined mix. Included in the calculation of the standard cost of operation. Good. So what is the formula? Material mix variance equals to maybe I can write a short form for that. Actual quantity in standard mix proportions minus actual quantity into standard price. Good. Next is material yield variance. So material yield variance, abbreviated as MYV. So when does it arise? It arises because there is a difference between what and what? The standard output, for a given level of inputs, okay, and the actual output attained. and the actual output attained. And the actual output attained. Yeah. So what is the formula for that? Material yield variance equals to actual yield minus standard yield from actual input into standard cost per unit of output. Standard cost per unit of output. Yeah. So you can say what we mean by AY. AY is actual yield. Actual yield. And SY is standard yield. Good. So with that, now we are ready to jump right into attempting different questions. So we'll do around 4 if not 5 illustrations. We have illustration 1, illustration 2, illustration 3, 4 and 5. Yeah, we'll attempt 5 illustrations. So bye, see you in the next video as we start attempting the various questions.